Sort of continuing from my last flight, this one again was not at all what I was expecting. Hi there, my name is Kevin and I make honest and to the point, narrated trip reports about flights and premium hotels all over the world. This is episode 134 on my second Saudia flight, continuing from Jeddah to Kuala Lumpur. Stick around, the full long-haul Saudia experience begins in 10 seconds. Exactly 2 years ago today, November 14th, the day that I'm editing this video, I filmed my first ever video in Vietnam as sort of a trial run to see if I could actually do it. I had no idea what YouTube would bring, but I certainly never expected to be starting a video with, "Welcome to Jeddah." If you'd like to know more about the incredible fare that I paid for this flight or my next 5 videos in queue, please check out the description below. King Abdulaziz International Airport, where we are now, is the third largest airport in Saudi Arabia, and in 2019 debuted this brand new terminal, replacing what looked to be a horror show of a terminal used previously. As we head into the Alfursan business class lounge, let me mention that whether or not this video is a horror show depends on what happens on the flight. As in, you're gonna hear only my honest opinion today. This video is unsponsored, and I wouldn't dream of reviewing an airline that was paying me, because sponsored, unbiased reviews don't exist. So sit back and relax, because this flight was 100% self-funded. Okay, so far we've got a small duty-free shop, golden columns, a white baby grand piano back there, and enough powder blue leather to upholster half of Long Island. It is clear that Saudia is trying to prove something with this lounge, and I gotta say, they are doing it pretty well. No matter what brought you to this video today, if you enjoy it, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. 2 things that massively support the channel against my biggest competitor, the YouTube algorithm. Y'all are the sponsors of this video, so every snippet of engagement really does help. And as always, if you have any feedback or suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. I'm always looking for ways to improve my content. A big thank you in advance. While not quite a private room, the lounge does have slumber rooms available, which are semi-private nooks available on a willy-nilly first-come first-served basis. Based on how many people pop their head around the glass into my temporary home, I'd say that they could have tripled the number of these rooms. Considering I had a 6-hour layover, my first few hours here were greatly appreciated. There were also shower facilities and a litany of other features on offer, such as the digital library, the game room with pool table, the coffee lounge, and my personal favorite, the post-dining lounge. It would be a logical assumption to make that this lounge is so big and so impressive because Saudia is trying to rebuild, or perhaps just build, their brand into a multinational operation from their 2 main cities of Jeddah and Riyadh. While that is true, there's another factor, another airline actually, to consider. I'll explain as we take a look at the food on offer. By the way, yes, Saudia is a dry airline and there is no alcohol permitted in the lounge or on board. Announced a few months back, the Saudi government is creating a new airline, supposedly to be called RIA or RIA. For the record, everything that I'm saying in this part is based on tidbits of news about the new airline or my own speculation. The plan is to create a totally new airline with aspirations a la Emirates to be based in Riyadh, while Saudia will be based in Jeddah. Every article written about this story asks the exact same questions. Why create another full-service airline? Why not just expand Saudia? If Saudia has too much baggage, why not just rebrand the existing airline? Well, I think I know the answer why, and I think it's all about alcohol. Let's take a walk to the gate and discuss. In Saudi Arabia's effort to transition away from an oil-based economy, the government has a goal of welcoming 100 million tourists per year starting in 2030. For any country, that would be a wackadoodle goal, but for a country that just a few years ago didn't even effectively have tourist visas, it seems crazy. And so, some crazy solutions are being proposed. For example, did you know that there's a man-made resort town being created on the Red Sea, cleverly named the Red Sea Project? Want to know what they're building there? Oh, it's just an Edition Hotel, a Grand Hyatt, a Fairmont, an SLS, a Six Senses, a Jumeirah, a Raffles, an Intercontinental, a St. Regis, a Ritz-Carlton Reserve, a Rosewood, a Faina, and a Miraval. And almost all of this is opening next year. I'll let you chew on that as we take a look at today's flight stats. We would be taking off a few minutes behind schedule on our way up to 37,000 feet for our almost 9-hour journey to Kuala Lumpur, where we'd be landing a full minute early. Boarding began and we made our way onto our 3-year-old 787-10. Okay, so I'm going to wrap up the RIA story. I think Saudi Arabia wants to have their cake and eat it too, or in this case, have their wine and drink it too. It's already been announced through multiple news outlets that alcohol will be permitted, under regulations, in the Red Sea project. Alcohol also hasn't officially been ruled out of the NEOM project, the kingdom's futuristic city built in a straight line. So here's my theory. Saudi will remain committed to Jeddah, will remain a dry airline, and will continue to be the country's Hajj workhorse, narrowing its focus to mostly religious tourism. RIA, on the other hand, which I'm guessing stands for Riyadh International Airlines, who has already poached Etihad CEO Tony Douglas, will target an international market focused on transit passengers and new streams of tourist revenue, and perhaps most significantly, serve alcohol. This is just my theory, and I could certainly be proven totally wrong tomorrow, but it kinda fits. Anyway, here we are on board. A bit of an awkward boarding situation, turning left and then walking through 4 rows of economy before making our way to the very pink and purple business class. Let's take a closer look at our Collins Aerospace Super Diamond layout. The 787-10s have 6 rows of business class seats in a 1-to-1 all-aisle access layout. While there is a window missing between rows 4 and 5, it is well placed behind the console, so walk on the wild side and choose any seat you'd like. For a bit of an extra counter space above the IFE monitor, choose a bulkhead seat as I did 1 Lima. These seats are well known and well adored for an all-around great package on offer. The same seat is used to varying degrees by American Airlines, British Airways, and Qatar Airways, among others. If traveling in a pair, you may prefer the 2 seats in the middle, and here is that extra counter space at the bulkhead seats that I mentioned. Legroom is ample in width and depth, and easily fits my backpack under the footrest. Your drink of choice was served as a pre-departure beverage along with a hot scented towel. There are many variations of this seat, especially around the storage compartment, but I have to say that this is my favorite setup, with the storage compartment empty for you to use and the IFE remote and outlets conveniently placed outside of the cubby, just to your right side. Quality headphones were waiting at the seat, and there was an overshoulder reading light and a coat hook on the other side. The seat controls were on an LED touchpad and were intuitive, and on the opposite side we had our armrest, which could be raised and lowered, convenient if you want to slide out during meal service. There's also more storage inside of it. And if that wasn't enough storage for you, there's also a final storage cubby down near your knee. By the way, I should mention, this flight departed at 2:10 a.m., which is why everything is so dark. And the tray table easily extended out and unfolded, one of my favorite configurations for tray tables. And thank you, Saudia, for being one of the very few airlines that has personal air vents on 787s. The cabin crew came around with what looked to be a very nice amenity kit. In reality, it was super stiff and a bit cheap feeling, but it comes fully stocked with everything that you'd need for a flight, including products from the Grown Alchemist. The interior was also pretty stylish. As I mentioned in my last video, I love the COVID kits from Saudia and think that their execution, design, and local relevance is just a really nice touch. Pushback began and we'd be taking off to the north before turning to the southeast for the duration of the flight. The spool up and takeoff are up next. I must have been tired on this flight, because I counted the movies on offer, which you can see on the screen now, but I forgot to film more than a second or two of the IFE monitor, which was a good quality. A quick trip to the bathroom showed a nicely maintained and clean bathroom, which remained that way, more or less, throughout the flight. Saudia did have one of their fancy onboard chefs on board tonight's flight, but no paper menus. So just as my last flight, the flight attendant, who was friendly enough, read the choices out of her own personal Hello Kitty notebook. It was a breakfast service with a choice of Arabic meze, granola with fruit, a fruit plate, or cucumber tomato dukkha for the starter, and for the main, you had a choice of waffles, scrambled eggs, shakshuka scrambled eggs, or fool. As you can see, I went with the beautifully presented granola, served with breakfast pastries, and then the fool, served with pita and mixed berries. If you're planning on getting some sleep, well, good luck to you. For a flight of this length, the blanket and the pillow fell short. No seat covers were offered either. Also, since there were no paper menus, and I do kinda take responsibility for this, I wasn't aware of what the next meal service would entail. I didn't ask either. Imagine my surprise when I woke up 90 minutes before arrival, groggy as anything, only to find out there was no second meal service. Okay, strange. 10 or 15 minutes later, I asked for at least a cup of coffee, which was refused since the fasten seatbelt sign was on. Mind you, it had been on literally the entire time that I was awake, before and after my nap. I asked if it was actually brewed, and it was, so I asked if it could be served over ice. Also refused. If you've watched any of my videos before, you can imagine that this is not exactly how I want to start my morning. Anyway, soon enough, we were on approach to the airport, so I figured I could just get some coffee there after we landed. We passed the Malaysian A380s, which have essentially been parked there since long before COVID, barely being used, and made our way to the satellite terminal at KLIA. I hopped on board my favorite little airport train and was off to find coffee. Let's head into the flip-flop score. Overall, relative to the price paid, that's key to what I'm about to say, it was a good experience. If this was what I would consider to be a more normal priced fare, then the low quality bedding and the lack of a second meal would be irking me more than it did in this case. As for the service, it wasn't as great as my first flight, and some of the flight attendants were a bit robotic, but overall, wasn't half bad. Would I fly Saudi again? For the right price? Yeah. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, I'll ask you to give it a big thumbs up and subscribe so that you don't miss a beat. Continuing with the cheap theme, I'll see you next time at the world's cheapest Mandarin Oriental in Kuala Lumpur.